What's up guys, Joseph here with Lava GR Auto Detailing, and today I'm going to show you some simple tips and tricks on how to remove brake dust. Now the vehicle that we're working on today is heavily coated. It's a Subaru Outback, but it is saturated on all sides with a ton of brake dust. I've never seen this much brake dust before in my entire life. And so without further ado, let's jump in and show you guys how to turn this car back to white, the original color that it's supposed to be. It's like my mom always said, if it ain't white, it ain't right.
You can't be saying that.
Oh, okay. I'll change it. We'll do another take. All right, let me know when to go.
Take two.
It's like my mom always said, white power.
Joseph, you can't be saying that either.
Okay, is it? Okay, I'll fix it.
Take three.
It's like my mom always said, white cars matter. Oh, whoops. All right, let's go, cut it. All right, all jokes aside, I do want to go over some products and how these products are going to be used, and also go over some myths. One of my customers came in recently and he was upset that we had to charge him a chemical bath to remove the brake dust, and he believed that a clay bar, and his friends told him that, hey, if you clay bar it, you shouldn't have needed a chemical bath. True, but if you've seen some of the heavily saturated cars, especially when it comes to brake dust, a clay bar could take you hours and hours and hours to get all of that off, if not days, especially a vehicle like the Subaru here. So sometimes it's better to do a chemical bath using like an iron eater is a safe one to use. Or you can also use something like a rim and metal cleaner or a corrosive acid. This is basically what it is, the corrosive acid for, quicker results, but you need to be careful because clearly it's an acid, it's corrosive. You can damage the paint, you can damage plastics, you can damage yourself. So iron eaters are more of a newer technology that's come out. It smells awful and it takes a little bit longer to break down all the iron and brake dust on your vehicle, but at the same time, it's super safe. So if you have high turnover and you're not a professional, I would say stick with the GT iron eater. In some cases, you can also use a degreaser. This is a very strong commercial grade degreaser that we use, and it can give you some results. But again, when you think of the pH scale, high pH is gonna be your degreaser, low pH is gonna be your acid. So with that being said, acids break down iron. So using a degreaser is kind of counterintuitive. But it's also safe, and it does work. It can help your process, and it's a little bit safer, especially if you can't get your hands on acid. It's a great way to go. We're also gonna be using a clay bar lubricant. This is what you probably should use. I'll probably just use soap, like a neutral soap with our clay bar, and we use these particular clay bars. I love them. It's a great product. You can get clay bars on Amazon. I'm not able to find these on Amazon, so I'll try to look a little bit deeper and put a clay bar in the description. That's a little bit better than the Amazon ones because I'm not a huge fan of the Amazon clay bars. They can really mar your paint. Now, I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you. I'm actually running out of breath while talking about it because there is a lot that goes into this, but clay bar lubricants is where we left off at, but these are bug sponges, which if you hear, you would think these would scratch the crap out of your paint, but they don't. They're specifically made to help you remove like bugs and stuff like that. But I'll show you later in the video how we use these as part of our chemical bath. You also, after doing any kind of chemical bath or clay bar, you should polish your car because one, you can leave light marring scratches, especially with those Amazon clay bars. I'll give a description of the ones I prefer not to use. I did not like them. But yes, so we're using a Roops LR Mark III with a medium pad, and also we're gonna use the Roops Uno Protect to give this car some protection after taking off all that finish when we're done with the wash. If you guys are not familiar with our 5-step wash that we use for ceramic coatings, go back and watch like the Volvo ceramic coating, all those, it goes more in depth. But again, we have a high pH soap and a low pH soap. And based off of what I just asked you guys originally, which one would remove the iron? Yes, the low pH soap. So we're gonna do a low pH chemical bath as well. It's not as harsh or corrosive as the rim and metal cleaner, the acid, but it's still gonna help us out and make our clay bar life a lot easier. We are not gonna be using this, so we're gonna put this aside. But yes, low pH soap. But we're gonna move over here too, to some other important things. First of all, if the paint looks like that, chances are The rims are gonna be covered as well. So we're gonna be using our rim and tire cleaner bucket with our corrosive wheel cleaner. And I did do a little short video. It's on our short section on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and it shows how we clean these really corroded rims with the rim and metal cleaner. And it worked, it came out really nice. It's like 30, 45 seconds long. I highly recommend checking that out. And then, but to finish off all of this, it's very important that we go over the vehicle with a neutral soap. So after we're done with our chemical bath, we are gonna be using a neutral soap in order to neutralize the acid, which is very, very important. But I'm also gonna show you, again, I'm gonna show you the iron eater and how long that's gonna take, and I'm gonna show you the acid. But without further ado, let's get to it. So some of you might be wondering what brake dust is. This is the perfect vehicle to take a look at, because when we zoom in here, we can see there's these rust spots all over the vehicle. And the back of the vehicle is always gonna be the worst. You're always gonna find the most brake dust on the back of your vehicle, and also on the lower side of your vehicle. Now this isn't the best vehicle to take a look at because it's like the whole car is stained itself. It's like this, the whole thing. But first thing is first, we're gonna go ahead and prep this bad boy and get to power washing. So we're gonna go ahead and try some test spots before we officially wash this guy, so that we know kind of what steps we need to do and whether or not we can cut a step by using our low pH soap. So I always like to start with the least aggressive. So let's go ahead and start with the clay bar. And actually, let's go ahead and start with the low pH soap and do a little test spot over here. So as you can see, we've already done a couple test spots just to kind of see, but we're gonna show you how we got there. So I'm just gonna pretend like I've never done this before. We had an issue with the mic, so here we go. I'm taking a little bit of this low pH soap, gonna rub it onto the paint. And I know some of you are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing this. It's fine, we're buffing and polishing. If you think paint is that soft, then you need to get out of the detailing business. So let that sit for a second and do its job while I grab a microfiber rag. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and wipe off the residue. As you can see, there's really no visible difference. And once that fully dries, you'll see that it didn't do anything. So low pH soap, no go. Now we're gonna jump into the clay bar and using a clay bar lubricant. We're gonna do it right on that same spot just because the soap didn't do anything, and let's have some space set aside here. Now this clay bar, it's been used before, but it's gonna be good. And now look at that, right away we can start seeing it starting to peel off some of that upper layer film. It would take a while. I would assume with this small section and how long it's taking me to get all this film off, and now look, I'm not having any results there, that the clay bar is ideal, but as you can see, you're gonna spend probably a few hours here. Clay barring does do a good job, but when you have large amounts of wheel dust or brake dust or fallout or rail dust or whatever you guys call it, it's actually called fallout. Doing a clay bar and clay barring a whole vehicle and trying to get every speck off could take us hours and hours. And we charge a little over $100 an hour at our shop. So it's way better just to go ahead and take the chemical bath for $100 and be able to shred this off. Now we're gonna go ahead and jump into an iron eater, which is gonna be, again, less aggressive. It's not corrosive. You don't wanna let this sit on the paint for too long. Maybe let it dwell 3 to 5 minutes, but you'll notice if it's working, if it changes color. Let's go ahead and take a look. Oh wow, look at that. That's beautiful. I'm gonna go ahead and just do more than I should. And now right there, you know that the iron eater is working. It's turning purple. And again, we wanna let this dwell 3 to 5 minutes, and we'll come back and take a look at the results. So they are plowing snow outside, so you might hear some beeping noise, but we're gonna push through it. So our next chemical that we're gonna be using is a corrosive. It is an acid. So unlike the GT iron eater, which is non-corrosive, this is for professional use only. You don't want to usually put this kind of product into the hands of a new detail technician who might spray it on the car, walk away, forget, and all of a sudden your customer's paint is burnt. Now the GT iron eater is still dwelling. However, both of these products you do not want to use in the sun, and if you do, you want to move quickly. But let's go ahead let's just go ahead and jump into it. So wheel acid works. Look at how fast that works. So you can see, you can see that the wheel acid instantly took this off. But one thing you can see now is after we remove that top layer of film, there is still brake dust underneath here. And this is why using a chemical bath is so important when dealing with brake dust, because you can be sitting here for hours with a clay bar trying to should wear my face mask. And this is why it's so important to use a chemical bath when you're clay barring or before you clay bar, because yes, you're going to remove a large portion of all of this residue here, but you're not going to. So basically what I did was I didn't wear my face mask and I lost my breath. And I was pissed off too. I should have worn my face mask. So I highly recommend rubber gloves, a face mask. And what I was trying to say at the end there before I lost my breath was, before I started coughing my brains out, is basically that even though we do a chemical bath, there is still an underlying brake dust factor. So we have to go back over it with a clay bar in order to fully remove it. But make sure to wear your PPE. Don't do what I did. You can also get a full-on respirator with actual filters that are designed specifically for acid. So you can usually get them at your local hardware store, or we use Finished Masters for ours. Anyway, let's get back to the video. Now we're gonna go ahead and remove the GT iron eater from this car. And I'm also gonna use that bug sponge that I talked to you guys about earlier. It really does help just tear off a lot of that grime and the brake dust underneath the top layer. Now, some of you are probably wondering, just like I am, what that top layer is. I'm beginning to wonder if it wasn't like a sprinkler system, because there's this top layer of residue, and then underneath it, the brake dust is still laying there. The rail dust, the fallout, like we were talking about earlier. All right, let's go ahead and wash that off. And we'll use a squeegee just so you can see the after of that. So you can see the GT iron eater did an amazing job. We still have some pieces of brake dust here, which is why chemical baths do cost so much. Why we charge $100 or $200 or $300. This is one of the worst that we've ever had. Sometimes you get water spots, but it's a process. We got to wash the car first. Then we have to do the chemical bath. Then after the chemical bath, we got to neutralize the chemical. Then we have to clay bar. Then we have to rinse it off and polish it. So it's a long process, but it's so worth it. Wait till this entire car is bleached and we'll jump into it. So we've gone over all of the steps and we've tried out the wheel acids or the iron eaters and clay bars. Now it's time to come up with an exact plan. So I think it's best to go ahead and use our low pH soap still to go ahead and go over the entire vehicle. And then we're gonna follow that up with an iron quake bath, our GT iron eater. And then we're gonna go ahead and follow that up with a clay bar treatment after we're done with the iron eater. That should give us a squeaky clean car. And at the very end, when we're all done with that, we're gonna go ahead and use our Roops LR Mark III with a medium cut pad, or probably I'm just gonna use a polishing pad because the paint looks really nice on here, and go ahead and use Uno Protect to give it a 3-month polish and sealant. Let's get into it.
I've been giving you the worst of me. Now you wanna stay the night. Pretty how you work hard for me. Chicago with a white mouth. Just lucky when you're looking like it. No sweets, no rush.
All right, so that concludes our exterior detail on the Subaru Outback, plus the chemical bath. I really hope we showed you guys how to break some of the myths out there, and also how to reduce your time when it comes to exterior detailing and removing brake dust or fallout contamination, whatever was on this vehicle. It's bleached white. It looks amazing. You know, you can see the before and afters. I'm really excited about that. But Anyway, guys, make sure to like and subscribe so we can keep posting more videos like this. I'm hoping to have this up before Christmas, and it'll probably be the last video for a little while until we get busier into our busier season. You know, tax time's coming up for most of you, as well for us. We got a lot of catching up to do. But anyway, Grand Rapids, keep it clean.